I saw what happened, and I won't let it slide. It's not the first time Justin will do such cheap tricks with poking eyes like those. His fight against Paddy will be his last name. UFC is only for the real fighters, not the cheater.
I don't want to look like a loser right now, but everyone saw I was better than Justin that fight, but the UFC wanted him to win. The lad smashed my eye with his finger. I had to play all of the rounds with a broken eye, which is not fair.
Obviously delivered in the main event, capped off with a war. Just give us your thoughts on Justin Gaethje and Paddy Pimblett delivering a 5-round battle.
Yeah, I mean, what a couple. So Paddy Pimblett at the weigh-in yesterday says, I'm going to knock this motherfucker out tomorrow. And I was like, that's interesting. And he never abandoned that game plan. Even when, he got dropped a couple times, I kept waiting for him. I'm like, he's eventually going to have to shoot and try to submit him. Now, I didn't know Paddy Pimblett had a chin like that till tonight. And, yeah, absolute dogfight in a war, and much respect to both guys.
We haven't seen Justin yet, so we don't know what his status is physically. But, I mean, is the interim, is the unification fight have to be next, or is there a case if he's hurt and needs to be out for a while?
Apparently he's 100%. So we sent Paddy Pimblett straight to the hospital, and then we're going to send Gaethje too. And Gaethje's like, believe me, I've been in plenty of wars. I'm good. So as far as we know right now, he's...
That fucker's right. Scousers do not get knocked out. That Scouser does not get knocked out.
I'm a Scouser. We don't get knocked out. We don't get knocked out. I take that all day.
Hold on. My God. What a fucking gangster. Scousers do not get knocked out. That Scouser does not get knocked out. Hold on. My God.
He couldn't even beat the German guy in a weight contest.
Everyone was dead wrong about this fight. And I mean everyone. Before Paddy Pimblett and Justin Gaethje stepped into that octagon, the MMA world was buzzing with predictions, breakdowns, and hot takes from every corner of the internet. Thousands of analysis videos, expert predictions, fan debates raging across social media. But here's what's absolutely wild now that we've actually seen these two warriors go to war. Every single confident prediction, every expert breakdown, every passionate fan theory sounds completely and utterly ridiculous. What unfolded inside that cage wasn't just different from what people expected. It was so far off from the predictions that it instantly became one of the most talked about, dissected, and argued results in recent UFC history. People tuned in expecting a clean narrative with a clear winner and obvious reasons why they won. Instead, they got something messy, unpredictable, and packed with moments that forced everyone from casual fans to seasoned analysts to completely rethink everything they thought they knew about these fighters.
You saw him do it to Michael Chandler. He's taken on the highlight, Justin Gaethje. Gaethje. 26 wins, 5 losses, 20 KOs. The dude fucking KOs people. Early on, he'd calf kick the fuck out of people. He'd calf kick people where they couldn't take it anymore. He had many TKOs from calf kicks alone. The guy is just a dense fucking ball of muscle, built for fighting, 37 years old now. He's crumpled people with his left hook. He's crumpled people with his right hand. Paddy Pimblett is going to have to be very careful throwing his flurries on Justin Gaethje. Justin Gaethje will sit down and rip a left hook, or sit down, drop his head, and launch a right hand. That's Justin Gaethje's ways to win. He could KO Paddy.
The divide leading up to this fight was absolutely fascinating to watch unfold. If you dove into the breakdowns, and trust me, there were thousands of them flooding YouTube and social media, opinions were split right down the middle on literally every aspect of this matchup. On one side, you had the believers who were convinced that Paddy's wild, unpredictable movement and his natural grappling instincts would completely overwhelm Gaethje. They painted this picture where Paddy would drag Justin into uncomfortable, frantic exchanges, constantly forcing him to react instead of dictating the pace. These fans envisioned Justin getting frustrated, losing his composure, unable to find his rhythm against Paddy's chaotic energy. But then you had the other camp who put their complete faith in Justin's legendary discipline, his devastating power, and his incredible patience. They saw Gaethje methodically making Paddy pay for every single risky entry, every loose exchange, every moment where the Scouser got too comfortable. And here's what made this fight so captivating. That stark divide in perspectives turned every single exchange into a potential narrative-changing moment. The energy was electric because neither fighter was willing to give the other even a second of safe rhythm. It was constant warfare for control.
Fucking Justin Gaethje with the title around his waist. He earned it. Justin Gaethje's fought all these fucking monsters his whole goddamn career. Edson Barbosa, Donald Cerrone, Eddie Alvarez, Dustin Poirier, Khabib, Michael Chandler, Charles Oliveira, Fiziev twice, Dustin Poirier again, Max Holloway. Like, holy shit. He's fought the elite. So I'd love to see Justin Gaethje get it done. If I had to put, fuck, this is hard. If someone gave me $10,000 to bet with, and they said, hey, put it on who you think's going to win. God. I'm going to say 60-40. 60-40. 40% chance that Justin Gaethje knocks Paddy Pimblett out. Hits him on his chin. When Paddy Pimblett's flirting, hits him right on his fucking, hits him right on the Scouser chin. Bunk. Gets dropped. 40% chance, I think. 60% chance this fight, Justin's not able to find him. It's a little bit, it's like a spastic, weird style. He's not able to find his chin. Paddy Pimblett, if Paddy Pimblett puts him on his back, it's going to be a long night for
Justin Tim Welch brought this brilliant analytical approach to the matchup, laser focused on damage and timing as the key factors that would determine everything. Welch kept hammering home two crucial elements that he believed would swing this fight: Gaethje's absolutely brutal calf kicks and his precision counter-striking ability. And his reasoning was nasty in its implications. Those early leg kicks, those thudding shots that echo through the arena, they don't just hurt in the moment. They fundamentally change everything about how a fighter operates. Your posture gets compromised, forcing awkward adjustments. Your movement slows down dramatically, taking away that crucial agility. Most importantly, it alters how you react defensively when shots are coming your way. You can't pivot the same, can't push off with the same explosiveness. Welch also highlighted something crucial about Paddy's aggressive entries. While they're exciting and can create opportunities, they also create massive openings for a patient, tactical striker like Justin, who honestly only needs one clean read to end the entire fight. We've seen Gaethje do it countless times throughout his career. But here's where Welch's analysis got really interesting. He admitted that the longer the rounds dragged on, the more this structured striking battle would devolve into scrambles and unpredictable chaos. And that's exactly where Paddy thrives, in those messy moments where his grappling awareness and willingness to stay dangerous even off his back could genuinely pave his path to victory.
Will youth be served with Pimblett? Maybe. Gaethje, experience, good striker. He's well-rounded everywhere, but he's got to use the assets of a smaller guy. We've seen it, where you got to box, you got to use your legs, you got to set traps. You know, he's got the capability of doing that. Outmaneuver, outflank Pimblett. You know, Pimblett, let me tell you, he has improved a lot over the last 2 years. He really has, bud. He has gotten better. He's gotten more. You could see he's come into his own. Confidence-wise, physically, he's in great shape. They usually all are. But he's improved. His striking has improved. He's a good wrestler, grappler. But he loves to strike. That's what's going to make this fight really interesting and good. They're both going to strike. I mean, for the most part, they're both going to strike.
Then you had the legendary Teddy Atlas approaching this whole thing like a chess master, and his perspective was absolutely fascinating to break down. Atlas consistently emphasized the critical importance of Gaethje's movement, his intelligent use of angles, and perhaps most crucially, his disciplined restraint. He kept warning against Justin falling into the trap of just planting his feet and trading bombs in the pocket like it was some kind of pride contest. That's always been Gaethje's temptation. The crowd starts screaming, the blood starts flowing, and suddenly technique goes out the window in favor of pure violence. Atlas knew that Justin's experience absolutely matters, but only if he employs it in the smartest possible way and doesn't get sucked into a reckless brawl just because 20,000 people are on their feet begging for it. But here's what caught people off guard about Atlas's breakdown. He gave Paddy significant credit for how much he's matured, both physically and mentally. He described the Scouser as noticeably stronger, undeniably calmer under pressure, and far more comfortable navigating longer exchanges than most people were giving him credit for. So even while praising Gaethje's veteran polish and ring IQ, Atlas actually leaned slightly toward Pimblett because he believed that youth and momentum could prove to be the sharper weapons, especially when fatigue starts creeping in during those later rounds and split-second decisions become more difficult. In Atlas's view, Paddy had more room to adjust and adapt round by round without completely losing his identity as a fighter, and that ability to evolve in real time can make a monumental difference in championship-level fights.
Yeah, but I would go with the over on this because I think the over-under is like
2.5 rounds.
How many?
2.5 rounds over minus 115.
All right, listen. Again, we have a pretty good record here, but, you know, I mess up once in a while. I do. That's why it's gambling. But I like the over. I like the over. I mean, if Gaethje fights the perfect fight, you never know. You never know. But I know who the judges are probably favoring. Oh, did I say that? I'm sorry. It shouldn't be anything about that. It should just be about what goes on in the cage or in the ring. But I can't help myself but think about things that I see. So maybe, you know, Gaethje would really have to do a job, I think, to get it, which he could. But I think I'd probably favor Pimblett a little bit, but at the...
And get this, Max Holloway, with his typical razor-sharp insight, boiled this entire complex matchup down to one absolutely brutal question that cuts straight to the heart of everything. Can Paddy Pimblett actually take Justin Gaethje's terrifying power without completely breaking? It sounds simple, but the implications are massive when you really think about it. Holloway's perspective was that if Paddy could somehow survive that relentless concussive damage through sheer grit and defensive awareness, then he absolutely possessed the instincts and mental fortitude to transform those scary, disadvantaged moments into dominant grappling control and sudden momentum swings. And those kinds of swings, they don't just change rounds, they flip entire fights upside down in seconds. But Holloway also drove home a crucial point that everyone needed to understand about fighting Gaethje. Justin never needs high volume to completely alter the trajectory of a fight. Every clean punch, every devastating kick carries real fight-ending consequences. We're not talking about accumulating damage over time. We're talking about one perfectly timed, perfectly placed strike that can erase an entire round of good work and leave you wondering what truck just hit you. That's the terrifying reality of stepping into the octagon with someone who has highlight reel knockouts scattered throughout his career like breadcrumbs.
If he can eat it, I can see Paddy catching Gaethje and maybe almost like a Oliveira fight, you know, catch Gaethje, hurt Gaethje wobble, and then, you know, get to Gaethje's back or something, maybe subble. You know what I mean? Like, Paddy is very well rounded. You know, he out wrestled wrestlers, he out grappled grapplers. He stands with you. You know, he doesn't care. He throws. You know, everybody's like his chin is in the air. He takes shots. Yeah, he takes shots and he still walk forward. How long will that last? We don't know. And that's the question I have to this fight. Or what his reaction is going to be when Justin Gaethje catches him. Justin Gaethje.
But wait, it gets even more intense. Merab Dvalishvili gave us this raw, unfiltered perspective that treated the entire matchup like an absolute coin flip with no middle ground whatsoever. He laid out two incredibly sharp, unforgiving paths forward, and there was no soft landing in between. Path number one, Justin Gaethje systematically breaks Paddy Pimblett with sustained, relentless damage, either forcing a stoppage or cruising to a dominant decision victory. Path number two, Paddy survives long enough to expertly drag the fight into those messy, chaotic grappling exchanges where momentum slowly, but surely slides away from Justin before anyone even realizes what's happening. For Merab, the deciding factor wasn't just technique, because both fighters clearly possessed the skills to win this fight. No, it came down to something far more visceral and harder to measure: pain tolerance and decision-making under pressure. His point was profound when you think about it. Over 5 grueling rounds, exhaustion and mental pressure don't just happen. They stack up relentlessly, building on each other like compound interest. The fighter who can continue absorbing punishment while still making intelligent, effective decisions under that kind of suffocating duress, that's the fighter who walks away victorious. And honestly, that kind of mental warfare often matters more than any technical advantage on paper. So there you have it. Every expert had their theory, every analyst broke down the matchups, and every prediction seemed rock solid until these two actually stepped into that octagon and rewrote the script entirely. This wasn't just about technique or power or grappling. This became a test of will, adaptation, and who could impose their game plan when everything was on the line. The gap between expectation and reality in this fight perfectly illustrates why MMA remains the most unpredictable sport on the planet. So here's my question for you, drop it in the comments below. Do you think the experts are getting too caught up in technical breakdowns and missing the mental warfare that actually decides these fights? If this analysis helped you understand what really went down and why everyone got it so wrong, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel for more fight breakdowns, and hit that notification bell because we've got some massive fights coming up that are going to shock the MMA world. I'll see you in the next one. But hold up, we need to dive deeper into what actually happened in that octagon because the real story is even crazier than anyone imagined. See, all these expert predictions and analytical breakdowns were based on one fundamental assumption that turned out to be completely wrong. Everyone was analyzing this fight like it was going to follow some predictable pattern, like both fighters would stick to their established game plans and execute them flawlessly under pressure. But what actually unfolded was something nobody saw coming. A complete stylistic evolution happening in real time. The first major shock came in the opening exchanges, and I'm talking about the first 30 seconds here. Paddy came out moving completely differently than anyone expected. Gone was that wild, reckless aggression that defined his previous fights. Instead, he was patient, measured, almost calculating in his approach. Meanwhile, Gaethje, who everyone predicted would be the disciplined tactician, came out throwing heat from the opening bell like he had something to prove. It was like watching two fighters swap identities overnight, and you could literally see the confusion rippling through the crowd and the commentary team. What made this even more fascinating was how both corners were reacting between rounds. If you watched closely, you could see the coaches frantically adjusting their game plans because nothing they had prepared for was actually happening. Gaethje's corner, who had drilled patience and tactical striking for weeks, suddenly found themselves trying to rein in a fighter who was hunting for the knockout with reckless abandon. Meanwhile, Paddy's team, who had probably prepared for their guy to be the aggressor, were now coaching defensive positioning and counterattacking opportunities they never expected to have. The grappling exchanges told an even wilder story that completely shattered every prediction. Remember how everyone was debating whether Paddy could get the fight to the ground? Well, here's what actually happened, and this is going to blow your mind. It was Justin Gaethje who initiated most of the grappling exchanges. Yeah, you heard that right. The guy everyone expected to keep it standing was the one constantly looking for clinch work and even attempting takedowns, and Paddy. He was actually defending beautifully and immediately working back to his feet, showing takedown defense that nobody knew he possessed. But the most shocking moment came in round 3, and this is where every single expert prediction went completely out the window. Gaethje shot for a takedown, a legitimate, committed double leg attempt, and Paddy not only stuffed it perfectly but immediately transitioned into a guillotine attempt that had Justin in serious trouble for about 20 seconds. The arena went absolutely insane because nobody, and I mean nobody, saw that sequence coming. It was like watching a completely different version of both fighters than anyone had studied or prepared for. The striking patterns were equally mind-bending. All those breakdowns about Gaethje's methodical leg kick strategy? Completely irrelevant. Justin threw maybe 3 leg kicks the entire fight, instead choosing to headhunt with looping hooks and aggressive combinations that left him exposed to counters. Meanwhile, Paddy was picking him apart with jabs and straight punches, displaying boxing fundamentals that were nowhere to be found in his previous UFC appearances. It was like he had secretly been training with a world-class boxing coach for months without anyone knowing. And then there's the cardio situation that nobody predicted correctly. Everyone assumed Gaethje's veteran conditioning would be the deciding factor in the later rounds. But by round 4, it was Justin who was showing signs of fatigue while Paddy looked like he could fight for another 5 rounds. The Scouser's pace never slowed down, his output remained consistent, and his movement stayed crisp even as the fight entered championship rounds. Meanwhile, Gaethje was breathing heavy. His combinations were becoming shorter, and that legendary knockout power seemed to diminish with each passing minute. The psychological warfare aspect was absolutely fascinating to witness unfold. Paddy was constantly talking during exchanges, but it wasn't the usual trash talk or emotional outbursts we're used to seeing from him. Instead, he was calmly giving Gaethje instructions, almost like he was coaching him during the fight. "Come on, Justin, I know you've got more than that. Is that your best shot?" But delivered with this eerily calm confidence that seemed to get under Gaethje's skin more than any screaming or showboating ever could. Justin, on the other hand, was showing frustration in ways we've rarely seen from him. He was shaking his head after exchanges, throwing his hands up when techniques weren't working, and even arguing with the referee about phantom fouls that weren't actually happening. This is a guy known for his mental toughness and veteran composure, but Paddy's unexpected game plan was clearly affecting him psychologically in ways that no amount of experience could have prepared him for. The momentum shifts were unlike anything we've seen in recent memory. Just when it looked like one fighter was taking control, the other would completely flip the script with a sequence that came out of nowhere. Round 2 looked like it was going to be a dominant Gaethje round until Paddy landed a spinning back fist. Yes, a spinning back fist that wobbled Justin badly and completely changed the complexion of the round. Then in round 4, when Paddy seemed to be cruising toward a decision victory, Gaethje uncorked a knee in the clinch that dropped Pimblett to the canvas and had everyone thinking the fight was over. But here's where it gets really crazy, the referee situation. We had 3 separate moments where the referee had to make split-second decisions that could have changed the entire outcome of the fight. The first was when Paddy dropped from that knee and Gaethje followed up with ground strikes. The ref was hovering, ready to stop it, but Pimblett showed incredible awareness and actually reversed position while taking punishment, forcing the referee to let it continue. The second was a potential eye poke that wasn't called, and the third was a questionable fence grab that definitely affected a takedown attempt but went unnoticed. The corner advice between rounds was absolutely electric and gave us insight into how confused everyone was by what they were witnessing. You could hear Gaethje's coaches screaming about sticking to the game plan while Justin was shaking his head and saying, "He's not doing what we expected." Meanwhile, Paddy's corner was frantically trying to keep him focused because they could see he was starting to believe his own hype and getting a little too comfortable in there with a dangerous finisher like Gaethje. The crowd reaction throughout this fight was unlike anything I've experienced watching MMA. Usually you can predict when the audience will explode based on typical fight patterns. But this crowd was constantly gasping, cheering, and going silent at completely unexpected moments because nobody in the arena, from the casual fans to the hardcore analysts, could predict what was coming next. Every exchange brought genuine surprises that had people jumping out of their seats. And let's talk about the judging controversy that erupted immediately after the final bell. 2 judges scored it for Paddy, 1 for Justin, but the round-by-round breakdown was absolutely wild. Rounds 1 and 5 were clear for Pimblett, round 3 was obvious for Gaethje, but rounds 2 and 4 were so close and filled with momentum swings that you could make legitimate arguments for either fighter. The fact that we're still debating who actually won those middle rounds weeks later tells you everything you need to know about how unpredictable this fight was. But here's what really separates this fight from typical controversial decisions. It wasn't controversial because of bad judging or robbery accusations. It was controversial because both fighters performed so differently from their established patterns that traditional scoring criteria almost didn't apply. How do you score a round where the supposed grappler is outboxing the striker, but the striker is controlling the clinch work? It broke the normal framework we use to evaluate MMA contests. The post-fight interviews revealed just how much both fighters had surprised themselves. Paddy admitted he had never felt that comfortable on the feet against a high-level striker, while Justin confessed that his original game plan went out the window after the first exchange because nothing he had prepared for was actually happening in there. Both guys seemed almost confused by their own performances, which perfectly captured how the entire MMA community was feeling. So what does this fight teach us about prediction culture in MMA? Maybe we're all getting too comfortable with our analysis, too confident in our breakdowns, too sure that fighters can't completely reinvent themselves when everything is on the line. This fight proved that the human element, the ability to adapt, evolve, and surprise even yourself under pressure, still trumps all the technical breakdowns and statistical analysis in the world. And honestly, that's what makes this sport absolutely beautiful and completely addictive.